Jim is an analyst on communication skills, teaches workshops to millennials, author of The Old School, and we're talking about timeless tools for every generation by Jim Whiddon. And one of the issues, of course, is kids are staying home much longer and for longer stretches and much later in life. Jim, good morning. I don't think there's any surprise at this point. Kids they're not the mature 18-year-old, our parents were when they got to a certain age, they got a job and they left. Today they're staying home.
Well, there's no question. It's a combination of economics and expectations. I mean, if you look at it from a macro point of view, 40% of college students never get their degree, but they still are saddled with a lot of debt. Mm. So imagine trying to go out on your own, not having the job the college promised, but at the same time, you didn't have the trade program training either. We've got auto mechanics in our area here in Dallas-Fort Worth that can make $175,000 as an auto mechanic. Now, I mean, that is very good money. And then on the expectation side, the old traditional, complete your education, move out of the house, get a job, get married, and have kids, that has also gone by the wayside. I would put some of the blame on the education system for taking shop class out, but the boomer parents are not really giving their kids the guidance they need, so the result is they're living with their kids longer than they thought they ever would.
Yeah.
Bill, there's something that you and I talk about when we talk about, poverty today. What's poverty today versus 50 years ago when you have cell phones, laptops? I'm wondering if this factors in as well, because when you were 18, it was I want to get out there, I get a job, I get an apartment, I hit the road on my own.
Yeah.
Today, you do need a cell phone. You need a laptop. You need all these gadgets that add to all the cost of living, which I guess wasn't around 20 years ago.
What do you think of that, Jim?
Well, yeah, I don't think there's any question in that regard. On the other hand, buying a house, you can get a 4% mortgage instead of 9.25% like I did in my first home. So, maybe some of that stuff offsets. Really, we go to companies all over the country and talk about independence and responsibility, which is seen when you see employees that are moved out of the home. They're better coworkers, they're better employees because they've had that on-the-job training, if you will, at home on their own. And that translates very well to companies because they want people that can communicate, they're coachable, they're continuously learning, and those characteristics tend to come from people that have moved out and started things on their own.
Yeah. I will tell you that one of the rules in my house is I hate coming home and finding children in bed. I just can't. I've worked. Listen, I've been up since 4, and I'm getting home, and what in the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
It kind of bothers me, but I there's got to be something to this, Jim, that parents need to be the ones to step up and say, enough making this comfortable. This is what you're going to have to do.
Absolutely. The millennial generation is getting much more blame than they should be. The boomers need to step in and take some of that blame and then take responsibility. Give the kids the old school training, we call it, that gives them the confidence to get out there and make a way for themselves. It makes everybody proud. It's the right thing to do for your kids because they're going to be happier.
Yeah.
They'll do that. Yeah.
Now, I've also talked to some parents and the kids that are staying in the home, and a lot of it is because, getting back to the economic side of things, that I want to pay off as much of my student loans in my first job as possible. And the parents are saying, yeah, I agree, because then they may not have to rely on them later in life. Is that something you're seeing as well?
I think, yes, we're seeing that a lot. But, again, that gets back to what is launching? Because failure to launch is the kind of the catchphrase of this generation. It's not just completing your education and moving out, but it's also finding a companion to be with for life and maybe even having a child or two. So these things, in other words, if you've got somebody you want to live with, you want to marry and live with, that's motivation enough. I mean, you've got school loans, and it would be nice. Things aren't always nice. Sometimes you just got to, get after it and make it happen like our parents had to and like the boomer generation generally had to as well.
Jim, I'm going to give you a theory, and I hope you take it and run with it, write a book with it, make a lot of money. But here it is. It all comes down to sex. And that is, in my parents' generation, they didn't have the sex that kids have today. Therefore, you couldn't wait to get out of the house and get married for your first chance to have a relationship with the person you're with. Think of the people that in 1960 were having their first relationship, sexual relations, with the person that was with their sweetheart. And there's nothing more inspirational than that. We got to get out of this house and get married and move on. Am I anywhere, or do you think this is just ridiculous?
Well, I think there's a story about a cow in there somewhere, but that book has been written, I'm afraid, several times.
All right. Well, all right. I thought I had something good for you there, Jim. I really did. So.
Well, I'll contemplate that. Thank you very much.
Think about it. And by the way, when you look at the numbers here, the percentages, it is staggering. The number of people back in like 1960 that lived at home with their parents at age 22 versus today. I mean, it's just incredible.
Do you have a stat on that?
It's crazy. It has been, well, I know in 1975, only 25% of men, 25 to 30, had incomes of less than $30,000, and now it's 41%.
Yeah,
so there's your driver right there.
Interesting. All right, Jim, thanks so much for taking the time with us.
All right, my pleasure.